Welcome back, dear viewers, and you're still watching The Breakfast Show. And in this segment of our program, we will shed light on the economic importance of the recent projects that were inaugurated in the past few days by President Fattah al-Sisi in Upper Egypt. And now we are joined over the phone by Dr. Saleh. He is an economic expert. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Very good morning to you.
Dr. Amr, can you shed light on the economic importance of the projects that were developmental projects that were recently inaugurated in Upper Egypt by President Fattah al-Sisi?
This project in Aswan, the Toshka project, is one of the largest projects in the Middle East, and the purpose is to achieve self-sufficiency in the most basic commodities where the Egyptians rely on. And the project, was, as we all know, that was launched, and the idea was launched in 1997. And within that regard, I would like to salute the courage and the transparency of President Fattah al-Sisi that has saluted the former Prime Minister Genzuri, and that has given the right to the former government. We know that the project was launched in 1997 with the purpose of cultivating 550 fadans approximately. These projects are really crucial, and we didn't have the right expenses and the budget, the Egyptian budget at that time was not ready for these kind of expenses. Now, after the economic reforms, we are on the right track due to the vision and the courage and the political will of the President Fattah al-Sisi to achieve such projects in order to increase the habitable land from 5, which is really an amazing number, from 5 to 25%, and expanding agricultural production and creating new jobs and new opportunities in the deserts in Egypt. These infrastructures, these projects are really important due to the increase of the population, the Egyptian population. And, you need to create over 1 million jobs a year. And this is really difficult for any country in the world. You have created 5 million, you've succeeded to create 5 million jobs in the last 5 years with an economic reform program which was really very difficult, and the World Bank and the IMF were not really optimistic, and they were very skeptical regarding these reforms. But Egypt has succeeded to increase its GDP after the revolution from 1.8% to 6.5%. And even as I was saying, that the international organizations were not really optimistic. Now we have the World Bank. We have the World Bank partner in such projects, and this is really a success, a great success for the Egyptian government and for the Egypt economic vision, actually.
Yes, sir. To what extent these developmental projects will attract more investors to Upper Egypt in the coming period?
Okay, this is a very good question, because no investments can be done, no investments can be implemented, and no private sector can work without infrastructure. We've seen the solar energy power plant in Upper Egypt. We've seen the airports, the roads,
yes.
the industrial areas, the economic support that was given to the SMEs, to young people. These economic efforts, these economic expenditure, what we call public expenditure, are really important for the private sector, for any private sector, and even for FDIs, foreign direct investments, to come to Egypt. So,
yes.
No investments, no private sector can work unless we have the right infrastructure in the country.
Yes, actually, President Fattah al-Sisi has highlighted the important role played by the private sector in development. So how can we involve the private sector in more developmental projects in the coming period?
Well, you don't have to involve the private sector, because the private sector will come.
Yes.
if there is an opportunity. The infrastructure is attracting the private sector, is attracting our people, attracting foreign direct investment. We know that Toshka was one of the important and the model for the involvement of the foreign direct investors in Egypt, and it didn't continue because simply the project stopped because of the lack of finance. Now we have the finance. So coming back to your question, what is important is to build an infrastructure and to do economic reforms, legal reforms, create the business environment, and this is what Egypt is doing. Working on the business environment, creating the best business environment for the private sector, plus the infrastructure that is really needed for the private sector to be a part of the market.
Yes, Dr. Amr Saleh, economic expert, thank you for being with us today. And dear viewers, by that we come to the end of today's edition of the Breakfast Show. I'm Shina Adel, and I was joined today by my colleague Mohammed Abdelrahim. Thank you for watching.